And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insiders. Today we have some exciting news around the Washington Commanders roster. It looks like that Johnathan Allen has his practice window opened up. So his 21-day window is open. And it looks like that Johnathan Allen had a great first day back. In fact, the last time we saw Johnathan Allen, he suffered a pectoral injury in week 6 against the Baltimore Ravens. He underwent a surgery to repair his partially torn pectoral muscle. He's able to come back from that. Dan Quinn talked about how well he has done with his rehab work, and he says it's pretty remarkable. And he also said that he looked not like a person who had this surgery. And so that is huge news to hear for Washington Commanders fans, because we know defensively this is where we probably need to tighten up the most, especially as we get ready to go into the playoffs. And it sounds like that Johnathan Allen is very optimistic. It sounds like that he's really been preparing for this moment, because I love what he's talking about here when he says, look, I just wanted to work in silence and just keep going until I had a real opportunity. And based off what Dan Quinn is saying, it sounds like he has a real opportunity, because he said, look, he's built different for sure. I love this. And so you know that if Dan Quinn is raving about Johnathan Allen this early, certainly I think that they are feeling comfortable with the fact that he is probably going to make an appearance before the season ends. And I think that that's great. He's going to need to get some rhythm as this team continues to progress and hopefully solidify a playoff spot here, because currently we're number 7 here as far as the seed in the playoffs. And so, you know, you have teams like the Atlanta Falcons, you have the teams like the Rams and things like that are chasing here. But I love what is brought up here in the article, in the sense that, look, between the Atlanta Falcons and the Philadelphia Eagles, both of those teams are top 12 in rushing per game. And then you also have the Cowboys here that are 5th in rushing yards over the last 3 games. And so we are going to need Johnathan Allen, no doubt about it, because this team gives up 132 yards per game. And Johnathan Allen, look, he brings so much to this defense, because he's had in his career totals 41 sacks, 117 QB hits, 397 tackles, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 interception in 107 games. And like I said, to start off, he's a 2-time Pro Bowler here. And so that experience is going to happen to help the Washington Commanders, And so, look, with Johnathan Allen coming back, I think that, he's coming back to a defense where it might actually be a little bit more easier for him, because now that we have Marshon Lattimore here, and just the way that he played in this first game against the Saints, I know we were going against a 3rd-string quarterback, but still, Marshon Lattimore was good enough to where they did not want to test him. And I would think that teams moving forward are probably still going to have that mindset, because if Marshon Lattimore is healthy, which it looks like he is, he's thoroughly prepared because he's taken that time off. It looks like the Washington Commanders wanted to be precautious in just kind of making sure that they get him right, and it looks like he is. And just with the emergence of Mikey Sanders still as well, suddenly this secondary, it's becoming a secondary that I'm not sure teams are going to want to try. I think that if you look at maybe the first half of the season, I could see that teams were going out there, they were getting some big plays and things like that. We don't necessarily see that as much. And I think now for the Washington Commanders to take another step forward and really solidify themselves and maybe take a deep run into the playoffs this year, they've got to win up front in the trenches, because when you get to the playoffs, I think that with the weather and everything else, it's going to take the air out of the football. Certainly, you're still going to see the passing game out there. I mean, that's evident in the NFL, but defensively, you need to win up front, because you need to create enough pressures. You also need to take away a team's running game. And I think when you do that, you make a team one-dimensional. You give yourself a chance to win the football game. And it's not necessarily about, hey, you get the sack here, or necessarily you get the fumble recovery and turnovers and things like that. But it's also, too, you're trying to win the field position battle. And so I think that with Johnathan Allen, he helps you do that. I think that he can come out there. He can certainly help you create some more negative plays, which is something that we need, especially for a team that continues to get gashed in the running game, even though I love what we did against the Saints. Hopefully, we can replicate that against the Falcons and the Eagles, because we know with the Eagles, with Saquon Barkley, he has been on a tear this season. And, this is a guy that we need out there in Johnathan Allen. So he helps us there. And I think his secondary is going to help him, because now with the coverage that they provide, when he is now in a pass rushing situation, I think that is going to give him the time to get home, because if that quarterback is sitting back there trying to buy time for a route to open up, that is probably enough time for Johnathan Allen and some of these guys up front to get home. And so hopefully what we see now with Johnathan Allen coming back is we see a unit that is more together out there, because I think that there's some games where we have just a good game with our front four or front seven, and then we don't necessarily have a good game with our back half of the defense, our corners and safeties and things like that. But I think that with the addition of Marshawn Lattimore, the way that we've stepped it up, the way that they've made some rotations now in the secondary, you add a guy like Johnathan Allen, I think that this is the time where you see the Washington Commanders defense now come together and really be one out there. And I think that that's going to be huge, because you have got to be on the same page as a unit when you're trying to go out there and get deep into the playoffs here. So anyway, let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this recent injury update around Johnathan Allen. Do you think that, yes, this is going to be huge for the Washington Commanders? This could maybe get them a deep playoff run? Or do you think, what, this defense is set without Johnathan Allen? I'd love to hear your comments out there. And so we'll be talking a little bit more about the Washington Commanders as we gear up for this next game, which is going to be huge for the Washington Commanders, especially if they're still trying to perhaps win the NFC East. And so anyway, this is Rico. This is Washington Commanders Insider. I'll see you on the next one. All right. Peace.